Hi, it's me, Dick Jr. I'm coming to you today to read you Jeremiah chapter 7. Um, if you wonder why I keep continuing to record with just a plain green screen, I'm doing it in hopes that at some point I can go back and edit all these files and add whatever I want to the background. But it really doesn't matter what's in the background. It's the same me and the same word in the foreground. So that's the important part anyway. Not what kind of weirdness I can come up with. Anyway, Matthew, I've got 4 references today. One is Matthew chapter 21, verse 13. That's chapter 21, verse 13 of Matthew. The next one is Isaiah chapter 56, verse 7. That's chapter 56, verse 7 of Isaiah. The next one is Exodus 15:26. That's chapter 15, verse 26 of Exodus. The next one is Exodus 19, 5. That's chapter 19, verse 5 of Exodus. There's, I think, 3 verses I touch off of in here. This chapter in Jeremiah, I think, has a lot of things in it, and I've circled many things and referenced things, and there's arrows and brackets and all sorts of things going on in my book. I'll try to bring some of that to light as we go through why I bracketed or whatever in these references. So I prayed before I came to speak with you and asked God to help me with His Word and help talk to you. And I suggest when you go to His Word and you go ask Him to help you understand, and He will. Okay. So, verse 1, chapter 7. The word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Stand in the gate of the Lord's house and proclaim there this word, and say, Hear the word of the Lord, all you of Judah. So I'm going to pause just for a second to give you kind of what he's saying is at the temple. And the temple is not, it's in Judah. It's not in Israel for whatever reason. So, and as we go on, you'll kind of understand some of it, but I just wanted to kind of set it up that way so you understood. And he's telling Jeremiah to go stand in the gates of the temple and say this. Hear the word of the Lord, all you of Judah who enter by these gates to worship the Lord. Thus says the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, amend your ways and your deeds. So he's talking specifically to Judah, not just the nation of Israel, but Judah specifically, because the temple is in Judah and the temple is holy. See what I mean? Thus says the Lord of hosts, God of Israel, amend your ways and your deeds, and I will let you dwell in this place, which has been the deal for all of Israel, all the nations of Israel, since God saved them, was that He would give them this promised land if they did certain things. So here He says, I will let you dwell in this place. And then in verse 4 it says, do not trust in deceptive words. And I circled that. And the reason is because it is repeated later on. So do not trust in deceptive words, saying, this is the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord. And what he's saying is, do not trust in those who are claiming that this is the temple of the Lord. And he's going to go on and explain why it is not the temple of the Lord right now, anyway. For if you truly amend your ways and your deeds, if you truly practice justice between a man and his neighbor, which takes us to what Jesus said, that you're supposed to love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus told us, to love our neighbors and to love God. That's the 2 rules. So if you truly love your neighbor, okay, and then it says, this is what it means when it says to love your neighbor, not just your neighbor, though. It says, if you do not oppress the alien, which means out-of-towners and people from other countries, let's say, okay? The orphan, we all know what that means, but that could also mean children who are left in homes, too, for whatever reasons. They're orphans of a kind, okay? Or the widow. We all know what a widow is, and there are very specific things in here, but you find widows and widowers, as a matter of fact, and the old, the aged. Okay? And do not shed innocent blood, which we know we should never do, in this place, nor walk after other gods to your own ruin. He's asking them to do all these things. So he says, if you do not oppress the alien, the orphan, or the widow, and do not shed innocent blood in this place, nor walk after other gods to your own ruin. If you truly do this, if you practice these things, then you can stay. That's what he's telling them. Then I will let you dwell in this place, in the land that I gave to your fathers forever and ever. If you do these things, you can stay forever and ever. But if you don't, you can't. Behold, you are trusting in deceptive words to no avail. And that, again, I circled because it says, behold, you are trusting in deceptive words. Right up here it says, do not trust in deceptive words. And then he tells you these things, and then he says, do not trust. So it's very important that we understand what these deceptive words are in this area. So it's all kind of arrowed and bracketed in my Bible, but you understand now. So this starts in verse 4 and ends in verse 8 and the things in between it. So in verse 9, will you steal, murder, and commit adultery, and swear falsely, and offer sacrifices to Baal, and walk after other gods that you have not known? Then come and stand before me in this house, which is called by my name, and say, we are delivered, that you may do all these abominations. And Judah was worshiping other gods, and there were sacrifices being made to other gods. There was a lot of stuff going on. We'll go on to find out more about it. But they were also Christian, or not Christian, but Jewish. So they were mixing all this together, and then they were walking into the house of God as if they weren't doing these things outside the house of God in plain sight. And so this was Jeremiah speaking for God to the men of Judah about what they were doing. Okay, so verse 11. Has this house, which is called by my name, become a den of robbers in your sight? Behold, I, even I, have seen it, declares the Lord. And this is where I'm going to take us to Matthew 21:13. So got these handy dandy tabs, but it doesn't seem. There we go. Matthew 21:13. So Matthew 21:13. And this is the words of Jesus, says, and he said to them, it is written, my house shall be called a house of prayer. Okay. And then it goes on to say, but you are making it a robber's den. And he was referencing this verse that we just read here in Jeremiah 11, where he says a den of robbers. That is what Jesus is referencing here. And I also, at this time, am going to take us to Isaiah 56:7, which was one of my other references at this time, because that is the reference for the first part of that statement that Jesus made. And I'm going to read that again. This is Matthew 21:13, or one of our references. He said, it is written, my house shall be called a house of prayer, but you are making it a robber's den. This is the words of Jesus. Well, he quoted what we're reading in Jeremiah 7:11. And he also quoted Isaiah 56:7 right there. So I'm taking us to Isaiah 56:7 so we can hear what Jesus quoted. Isaiah 56, verse 7 says, even those I will bring to my holy mountain and make them joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices will be acceptable on my altar. For my house will be called a house of prayer for all the peoples. All the peoples. There, I want you to notice that part of it. And my house will be called a house of prayer. So Jesus was, in Matthew 21:13, Jesus was quoting Isaiah 56:7 and Jeremiah 7:11, which is where we are. So I just wanted to kind of touch on that as we went through. So now we're going to go back to Jeremiah and Jeremiah 7, right? I think I left my bookmark up there, so bear with me. Jeremiah 7:11. Jesus. Okay, so this isn't Jesus, this is Jeremiah speaking for God. Has this house, which is called by my name, become a den of robbers in your sight? Behold, I, even I, have seen it, declares the Lord. So this references Matthew 21:13, which is how we got on that rabbit trail. about what Jesus was saying. But Jesus was quoting this part where it says, become a den of robbers, okay? And he was also quoting the other verse that I took you to. So let's go to verse 12 here in Jeremiah chapter 7 and continue. But go now to my place, which is in Shiloh, where I made my name dwell at the first, and see what I did to it because of the wickedness of my people Israel. And now, because you have done all these things, declares the Lord, and I spoke to you, rising up early and speaking, but you did not hear, and I called you, but you did not answer. I underlined that because of the part where it says, I called you, but you did not answer, because the Lord constantly calls out to us to come back to him, to listen to him, to do what he needs us to do. We choose not to listen, is what I believe. You can believe as you wish. So we'll go down here to verse 14. Therefore I will do to the house which I called, and it's past tense right here, by my name, in which you trust, and to the place which I gave you and your fathers, as I did in Shiloh. And he's talking about the land, and he's talking about the temple right here that he's going to destroy it. I will cast you out of my sight, as I have cast out all your brothers, all the offspring of Ephraim. As for you, do not pray for this people, and do not lift up cry or prayer for them, and do not intercede with me, for I do not hear you. Do you not see what they are doing in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem? And they had set up street idols and household idols and all kinds of different things. Historically, I have verified these things because I'm kind of in anthropology. So, but there was a lot going on in Jerusalem. Anyway, there was a lot going on here that caused God to come to this. Do you not see that the cities? Okay, the children gather wood, the fathers kindle the fire, and the women knead dough to make cakes for the Queen of Heaven. And this is actually something that they did. They would sacrifice food to a house idol, Queen of Heaven, and the women did this mostly, but the men would see how they participated by sending the children and kindling the fires. And you see, and they pour out drink offerings to other gods in order to spite me. Do they spite me, declares the Lord? Is it not themselves they spite to their own shame? Therefore, thus says the Lord God, behold, my anger and my wrath will be poured out on this place, on man and on beast and on the trees of the field and on the fruit of the ground, and it will burn and not be quenched. I circled that part right there because it says it will burn and not be quenched. Ever. You see what I mean? I don't know. It just kind of rang out to me that way. I just circled it. So verse 21 says, thus says the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, add your burnt offerings to your sacrifices and eat flesh. For I did not speak to your fathers or command them in the day that I brought them out of the land of Egypt concerning burnt offerings and sacrifices. And what he's talking about is when God brought the nation of Israel out of Egypt, he didn't set up the temple and the burnt offerings and all these things. He just said, follow me, listen to my voice, do as I say. I will be your God and you will be my people. And that was the promise. And we're going to go on to discuss that a little bit here. So I did not command concerning flesh. I did not speak to your fathers and command them in that day that I brought them out of the land of Egypt concerning burnt offerings and sacrifices. But this is what I commanded them, saying, obey my voice. I circled that. Obey my voice. And I will be your God, and you will be my people. The most important part of that is the very first part. Obey my voice. Okay? And you will be my people, and you will walk in the way. And I circled that because you must walk in the way which he shows us. You see? Which I command you, that it may be well with you. Okay, so at this time I'm going to take the two references to Exodus 15:26 and Exodus 19:5. So drop this in here now. Exodus 15:26. And he said, if you will give earnest heed to the voice of the Lord your God, and do what is right in his sight, and give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of the diseases on which I have put on the Egyptians, for I, the Lord, am your healer. And the important part of that is heed to the voice of the Lord your God, and do what is right in his sight, and give ear. See, listen. So that takes us back to what we were just reading. And then Exodus 19, verse 5. Then if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, then you shall be my own possession among all the peoples, for all the earth is mine. But God says all the earth is his here, and he also says, if you will indeed obey my voice. And that's the part that I want to take us back to. He says, obey my voice here, and I will be your God, and you will be my people, and you will walk in all the way which I command you, that it may be well with you. Okay, and then verse 24, yet they did not obey or incline their ear, but walked in their own counsels and in the stubbornness of their evil heart, and went backward and not forward. Since the day that your fathers came out of the land of Egypt until this day, I have sent you all my servants, the prophets, until this day. And he means this one as well, not just this one. Okay, he sends people, he's talked to us, he's sent these very prophets I'm reading from right now, have been sent to us. You know, see what I mean? Daily rising early and sending them. So God is up every day sending us his words. All we have to do is listen. Yet they did not listen to me or incline their ear, but stiffened their neck, which means we became stubborn and obstinate. And they did more evil than their fathers. You shall speak all these words to them, but they will not listen to you, and you shall call to them, but they will not answer you. You shall say to them, this is the nation that did not obey the voice of the Lord their God, or accept correction. Truth has perished and has been cut off from their mouth. Cut off your hair and cast it away, and take up a lamentation on the bare heights. For the Lord has rejected and forsaken the generation of his wrath. For the sons of Judah have done that which is evil in my sight, declares the Lord. They have set their detestable things in the house which is called by my name to defile it. And at this time they had also started to put up idols in the actual temple of the Lord. I don't remember, but historically there were some strange decorations and carvings in there that weren't according to, God, and they were other gods, basically. So they have built the high places of Topheth, which is in the valley of the son of Hinnom, to burn their sons and their daughters in the fire, which I did not command, and it did not come into my mind. And that's the Lord talking about that, but that in this place they were sacrificing children. These people, the Jews, the Jewish people who were coming into the very temple, and the temple was in their land. Therefore, behold, days are coming, declares the Lord, when it will no longer be called Topheth, or the valley of the sons of Hinnom, but the valley of the slaughter. For they will bury in Topheth, because there is no other place. The dead bodies of this people will be for food for the birds of the sky and for the beasts of the earth, and no one will frighten them away. Then I will make to cease from the cities of Judah and from the streets of Jerusalem the voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride, for the land will become a ruin. And I circled that, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride, because the church left, and Jesus is the bridegroom and the church is his bride. So when God left the temple, he took everything with him here. You see what I mean? So that's all I really have to say about this. And come back again. I'll read to you again. God bless.